pulling the starter out, and I'm going to show you what I found. I wanted to start out today's video by telling Cody thanks for the shout out yesterday and all the subscribers that came over and gave me some support on my channel. Really appreciate it. I feel very blessed to have you guys come along and give me that support. Thanks. Well, welcome back. Today I'd like to tell you about this $1,200 starter I purchased for $200 and the reason why I needed a new starter. There's a saying, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Keep that in mind. So to start off with, this is Bart. It's a M1088 military vehicle. It's 6x6 and it weighs curb weight roughly 20,000 pounds. And one of the unique features this thing has, it's a 12 and 24 volt electrical system. Now, I'm not an expert on DC, so this is a learning curve for me, and I want to tell you what I got myself into. I purchased Bart. It only had 2 batteries in it, and it's designed for a 4 battery system. And because it runs dual systems, a 12 and 24 volt system simultaneously, it requires 4 batteries to really produce enough power on both ends. So, it makes it sound like it's a electric vehicle. No economy here. I had to get new batteries, and when I took out the old batteries, this is what the original battery came with. The unit was actually welded on here. I had to break it loose. This battery box, once you pull this top off, there were only 2 batteries here, so I added 2 extra batteries, but I was missing some of the components to hook them up. In the inside of this panel right here, there's supposed to be a label with a wiring diagram on it. Not there. I got online, spent lots of time looking around, see if I could find a wiring diagram, and I did. I found a couple, and they were a little different. I had to figure out which wiring diagram I was going to use. So I picked one and went with it. But in the process of installing these batteries, I traced all the wires back to the original source, the alternator, the starter. There's a polarity safety check device over here. It's called a polarity protection device. And this has 12 volt and 24 volt going into it. I just relocated that from down here. We're building this overlander, and this is actually habitable space here. So I had to relocate this and lift it up, put it out of the way. Labeled all the wires before I did that. Took my time, made sure I cleaned it all, put it back together the way it came off. Bart's alternator actually produces 12 and 24 volt simultaneously. And it's cool, it has 2 LED lights that light up, let you know it's working. Well, here's the CAT 3116 motor. And you can access everything pretty well. Electrical here, easy ground, but on the other side, it's where the starter is located, right down there in that hole, right down in here. So got it started, pulled it out, turned it off out in the yard, and it was dead. It wouldn't start again. That was it. It was done. Not a click, nothing. And I thought, oh no, now what is it? I must have put the batteries in wrong or fried something. My worst nightmare, right? Now I'm away from my tools, got to carry everything. I'm out in the rain trying to figure out, I've got my equipment, trying to keep it from getting soaking wet and shorting out. I even solicited help of a few friends and neighbors and some people that had some experience with military equipment in the past, and nobody wanted to come out work in the snow and the rain. Except for Andy. Andy came out and we figured out that my meter was off. That was a good thing. Thanks, Andy. Well, I just got to jump into it. I got my meter out again, started checking, and everything seemed to be checking out right. I went through the relay system and the breaker box. So one of the things I was really afraid of is frying something electrical, just because I didn't want to dig into it yet. I have a huge list of things I have to do and buy and design and plan. I really didn't want to start with an electrical problem, but I'm glad it happened. I jumped in. I said, what am I going to do? Started asking questions, getting online, looking at forums. There's lots of information out there. You have to kind of swim through it all, right? Decided I was going to start with the easy things first, look at all the relays and switches, and I was getting power to the starter, but I couldn't access it real well to try and jump it. When I tried, it didn't get anything. So I thought, must be something else wrong. What I really wanted to do was come out here, test a couple things and wiggle a wire or two and have it start working. That was my plan. Just, give it a little twist. Hopefully the ground would reconnect and it would fire up and I'd be good to go. Well, that was not the case. Wiggled a lot of wires. So right here you can see somebody did something to this battery that wasn't right. And that made me just a little bit suspect, and that caused me some problems in my thinking, which is usually where all my problems start. So, and every time I would work on it and it didn't fix anything, it kept getting more worried about what I might have done. I figured the only way to get this project done is to commit and jump in. Just go for it. Reminds me of the story of a guy that jumped out of the airplane in World War II, his parachute on, darkest night of the year, got out, stuck in a tree. Didn't have any clue where he was or how far off the ground he was. What was he going to do? He knew if he stayed there, he'd get shot, somebody would find him. And he grabbed his knife and his parachute and he let out a big scream and just cut that rope and screamed, figuring he's going to fall down to the ground, and he fell a foot. And still he was on the ground laying there still screaming like a girl, which is all right. So that was me. I decided I've just got to jump in. So I pulled the starter out, which is right over here down this lovely hole. I started pulling the starter out, and I'm going to show you what I found. This is what I found. I found this wire not hooked up to anything at all. It was hooked up on this side and it was just floating there. So what had happened was, in my due diligence to go through and make sure all the wires were traced to the right spot, apparently this wire is a ground wire for the solenoid. It's supposed to be hooked up right down here, but it was not. So that looks like it should be hooked up to something. I think that's supposed to be grounded. Just tucked it. Just tucked it. What had happened is this thing, whoever had messed with it, had just let it sit in there, and it must have grounded out on the frame enough to get it started. I mean, for quite a while. I don't know how long it had been running, but when I traced the wires, I must have bumped it and took it off of the. Sure enough, I was the one that actually wiggled the wire, maybe caused the problems. I fried the starter in a roundabout way. Called my friend Roy. He came up to give me some good advice on the project, and we decided to bench test it. Sure enough, it was dead as could be. So then I had to find a new one. So I got online like everybody does. Could not find a replacement starter that was anywhere in my price range. I'm already on a budget in this Overlander, so you know, sticking within a budget is pretty important. And there's lots of unforeseen things, and this is just one of them, right? Well, $1,200 to $1,500 or $1,600 was a little more than I expected. Anyway, I was able to chase one down from a local guy that works with these, and he was able to sell me one that he had sitting around. It cost me about 6 hours of driving time to go pick it up though, but if I didn't get it, it'd still be sitting here. Got the starter, I said, you know, I'm not going to bench test it, I'm going to throw it in. So I put it in, and it fired right up. It was the sweetest sound I'd heard in a long time. I forgot what it sounded like. One neat feature of this truck is you can start it with the cab up, if you can get in. I think I need my step ladder. Well, after 6 hours of driving, we couldn't wait to get back and get the starter in. So Tyler and I were in the dark out there with our flashlights and our cold fingers, and we got the thing put in. This and that thing run, we couldn't wait to take it for a drive. Hopped in, it was pitch black, we're missing dinner. We started driving out the driveway about a quarter of a mile. And something just wasn't right. So I got out and looked, and we had a problem. There is our problem. This wheel was locked up, and we drug it for a quarter mile down the driveway. So we were going to get some new tires anyway, weren't we, Tyler? Yep. Well, an alternative to buying a new starter with all my research was to get this one rebuilt. It's only about $400 to get it rebuilt. It's a really good option. Just took a little more time than I was willing to wait. I already waited 6 weeks. I was ready to go. This Overland project's got to get on the road, literally. Well, that was the excitement with the starter. A few things learned for sure, and I can't wait to continue the build. We are starting on the frame tomorrow and working on a whole bunch of things. So stay tuned, watch, and look for the next video.